I 20F found out my mother 43F had a secret baby 2 years ago and it's not my dad's. This situation is really messing with my head, and at this point my own mother and grandmother are near enough attempting to bribe me to stay quiet. So I 20F am one of four, or so I believed, until a few days ago there is me, my twin brother Eddie 20 meters, and two older half-siblings Ruben 24 meters and Grace 23F. Ruben is my mom's first child and Grace is my dad's 45 meters first also. So around 2 years ago our grandmother on my mom's side had cancer and my mom went and moved in with her for a while to help and care for her. We didn't see her throughout this whole time as my grandmother lives halfway across the country, plus at the time I and my bro was busy with last year's school exams and Ruben was staying with his dad in England, so nobody could go out to visit, not even dad to see his wife cause he was really busy with work himself. Mom was gone for a total of 6 months, and when she got back she had changed. She seemed very sad and would constantly be all over me and my brother. I assumed she just missed us while she was gone. 2 years passed since then, and on a visit home when doing things around the house I knocked over my mom's handbag and everything fell out. Naturally I cleaned up, but in my mom's wallet there was a picture sticking out of her with a newborn baby in a hospital bed. I was confused at first and thought maybe it was her with me or one of my brothers as babies, but it was dated from the time she was away with my gran. I ended up confronting my mom about it and she froze at first but then tried brushing me off and changing the subject, but I wouldn't let her. I wanted to know why she was in a hospital bed with a baby around the time she was gone. Either she tell me or I show dad. I told her. That's when she started crying and told me everything. She had an affair with another man. That's not my dad. She started her affair in 2018, got knocked up in 2019 and gave birth early 2020. I have a baby brother. She had a secret baby and nobody noticed. My gran knew and covered for her. She never had cancer and she just lied about the chemo and surgeries. How could I be so stupid? I'm so angry with her. I asked her about the pregnancy and the other man. Turns out she didn't go to my gran's to have the baby but just the other end of town to her AP's house, and just didn't leave his house. And what's worse is that AP was 24 at the time with 2 kids already. But at least he was single. She stayed with her AP and his kids while going through her pregnancy and left the baby with him. I asked more about this man, looked him up, and I know him. He is the son of a family friend and I've seen him around town with my baby brother and didn't even know it. I've not been doing well since finding all this out. My mom keeps trying to talk to me but I either lock her out of the room I am in or be around my dad so she can't talk about it, and whenever she does get a chance to talk to me she does whatever she can to try and keep my quiet. Even tried bribing me with money or shopping trips, and even got my gran try and guilt trip me. I don't know what to do. Does anyone have any experience with stuff like this? Any advice they can give me? Do I reach out to this man and ask about my brother? Do I tell my dad? I don't even know if she's still continuing the affair or if she's in my brother's life at all. Update. So those who DM me and friends I have spoken with all told me to tell my dad, and that's what I did. At first he was in complete and utterly denial, and even when I showed him the picture of my mom with my secret baby brother and used the text my mom and gran sent me as proof. I had never seen him cry before, ever. Not even when my uncle died a few years ago I never saw him tear up. Eventually my mom came home and my dad just screamed and shouted at her. It was awful. I showed everything to my brothers and sister, and my half-sister actually got into a physical fight with my mom. I felt so guilty about saying all this. Mom has gone to my grandma's. Neither of my brothers are talking to her, and when it got out who my mom's affair partner was, my mom's friend group kinda disowned her in a way, as he 26 meters was the son of one of her close friends who already had kids. I wish I could just go back to not knowing about any of this. I don't think my family will ever recover. My older half-brother is in England and is adamant on staying there. My brother is angry with mom and isn't speaking to her either. Dad is just crying and saying he's going to hire a cutthroat lawyer to divorce my mom, and mom is distraught, blaming me but is demanding I talk to her as she doesn't want to lose any more of her children. Redditor's reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1, you are not to blame for this at all. Your mother is an adult who knowingly and willfully betrayed your father and family. She could have stopped at any point before pregnancy and ended it, but she did not. This is what happens when you break someone's love and trust. She had a love child with the guy. Insane. Redditor follow-up. Yes, her blaming up itself shows exactly how remorseful and how much she regrets her actions. She doesn't give a s at that she blew up her family but is blaming it on Op. She made her mother lie about having cancer and acted like she was in another country to cover up her affair and pregnancy. She continued seeing him the entire time. Don't know why she came back. But it's probably cause she knew everybody would hate her for what she did and she would lose her stable family home. She's also a super creep for having an affair with her friend's son. She deserves everything coming to her. Redditor 2. None of this is your fault, Op. Your mom made her choices. She'd also made the choice to keep the photo in her purse. This was going to come out eventually, and it's nobody's fault but her own for what she did and what she hid. Your family may be different than it was before, but it will recover. You don't owe your mom anything, but you are also not required to cut her off unless you want to. You can make whatever choice feels right for you about her, and how much she is allowed to be in your life. Redditor follow-up. I'd also like to say this. This sub is very trigger happy to end relationships, bring out every lie and make everything public. What this sub rarely tells people is how difficult it will be. This sub never tells you how hard it is to lose a friend. This sub never tells you how hard it is to see your whole family and life nearly destroyed. While Op made the morally best decision, it's not always the easiest. And this sub very quickly forgets this. It's so easy for people on this sub to sit on pedestals and act like it's so easy to do these things. Redditor 3. Your mom is a S-ity person. Plain and simple. She got herself into it, she can deal with the repercussions on her own. Insane how many people these days don't ever stop to think about the consequences of their actions. Redditor follow-up. Mom's S-ity apple fell from grandma's ducking rotten tree. I hope grandma gets cut off like mom. Story 2. I-34F still struggle with his 40M infidelity, even though he's doing everything right. 2 years ago, my husband confessed he was having an affair. He came to me because he realized he was wrong, that he loved me, he was sorry. There was no trickle-truthing, just complete honesty and transparency. He immediately cut off contact, got a new job and put in his resignation, ditched toxic friends. Since then, he's been everything I'd ever wanted. Loving, attentive, and kind. I've had people pull me aside after seeing us together and comment that he worships the ground I walk on. She was his co-worker, he quit his job and went for a better paying one that I had suggested he try before. He encouraged me to quit my soul-esking job and go back to graduate school while he took care of all the bills and my wants needs without complaint. I just graduated from my accelerated program and found a wonderful job, where he used to be secretive with his phone. If I ask him to look something up while I'm cooking, he happily hands it over to me. We can manage all finances where before, he'd do it himself. It's a genuine partnership now where it wasn't before his infidelity. I feel like I'm mostly over it, but I still have days where it feels like my heart has been ripped out of my chest. He doesn't get upset that I'm angry or hurt, he'll just comfort me and tell me that he's still sorry he put me through this, and that he knows he may be apologizing for the rest of our lives, but he'll apologize each time this springs back up because he's at fault for how I feel. I had an incident yesterday where all I felt was blind rage. I was feeling hideous when I woke up, and it just snowballed. When he saw me for the first time that day, he pulled me in and gave me a hug, told me I was beautiful. Feeling hurt and spiteful, I said, "Not beautiful enough to keep you faithful," and pushed him away. You could see my words hurt him, but he gave me space until later, when he just held me on the couch while I cried. He told me that him cheating had nothing to do with how beautiful or awesome I was, that it was control, ego, self-esteem issues that he's been working out in therapy. I feel like I'm the issue now. I feel like I'm horrible for not being able to let it go after 2 years. I sometimes wonder if it would have been better to divorce. He had offered to not contest a divorce when this first came out, that he'd pay alimony without being legally required, but he had gotten on his knees and begged me to stay. My wedding vows were important to me, so I decided to muddle through. Can this get better? Will the pain ever permanently go away? Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1: Yeah, this is the harsh reality of infidelity. Even if you go to therapy and try to work it out, you will always remember how they betrayed you, and that pain will always remain regardless of time or them changing their behavior. You're not just gonna wake up one day and forget what happened. You shouldn't feel horrible about it. Infidelity is a huge thing to heal from, and many people just simply never heal from it. I definitely admire your strength to continue to pursue this relationship. Redditor follow-up. Listen, I was on the wrong end of a cheating spouse, and I agree 99% with you. The only nit I would pick is when you say you shouldn't feel horrible about it. I think if she lashes out and her words really hurt him, she should feel bad to a degree. Now, to be clear, she has no reason to feel bad about her anger of the betrayal, but the lashing out can't be a life sentence. I also applaud her strength to continue. I didn't, but my ex-wife also showed no remorse at all. In some sick way, I am actually glad she had no care, so it was easy to leave her and didn't have go through what op is. Redditor 2: I can only tell you my experience. There was the day that my husband came home and confessed to me that he was on the brink of starting an affair with a coworker. We immediately got into couples counseling. He looked for a new job, went extremely limited contact with her. If he had to communicate with her for work, he looped a third coworker in so they weren't alone. He ended up getting a new job, and I honestly thought our marriage was perhaps even better, more honest, more truthful, more fearless. A few years later it happened again. This time, he was more defensive. He would insist that it was more of a friendship, and that I was the one who was trying to make it something it wasn't. The third time's the charm that finally ended our marriage. I can only tell you that as I look back on it, I wished I had never forgiven him the first time. Redditor follow-up: I'm so sorry to hear of your experience. It highlights why individual counseling is so important for the cheating partner. They need to work on themselves. They need to work through whatever it is that makes them seek external validation. Redditor 3: Did you ever have a moment in your relationship where you got to punish him for his actions? Like, did you kick him out of the house, separate for a while, or something similar? If you didn't, it seems like your body is responding to not getting to release your anger. I understand that he's a great husband now, but for a certain amount of time he dragged your marriage in the mud. So it would make sense that you'd need a true lash-out moment. Op answer: We actually lived apart for 4 months after he confessed. I had contacted divorce lawyers and everything, but we kept an open line of communication, and went into some marriage counseling.